can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. We can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. We can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar. Can't fall, but we ain't fall. Flame scars, we gon' raise the bar.
Hey, what's going on, people? Welcome back to another episode of Raising the Bar with A.D. Robinson, with your host, A.D. Robinson, of course. Man, back in this thing. It's been about 2 weeks. 2 whole weeks. Man, I got a story to tell you. Not a long story. I won't make it long because this episode really is not about me, because I have a special guest on today. But I've just been on vacation with my wife. My wife and I, we took a trip. Even in all this, we made sure we were super safe, and we took precaution. And we went to Myrtle Beach, and, you know, just to get away and to clear our minds and, you know, to focus on the next step. You know, being married, we have to focus on, okay, where are we now and where are we going? So we just had to take that break away. That was 2 weeks ago. We went to Myrtle Beach, and being away, I was able to clear my mind, but not really, because I was still aware of what was going on, especially here in Atlanta, in ATL. We actually went away on 4th of July, and there was a few things that occurred around 4th of July. I tried so hard to not have my phone on me and look at social media, but it was so difficult. You guys know how that is. Just can't put your phones down. You know, that's millennials and Gen Zs. We can't put our phones down. But I had trouble because it just seems like it was a lot happening, especially in my city. There was a shooting that weekend, and I heard a few people were killed. And that was unfortunate, including the 8-year-old baby girl. And that was definitely unfortunate. I don't know much details about this shooting, but, you know, I just really had to shake that. You know, being on a trip on vacation, you try not to be a party pooper, and, you know, being with my wife, and my wife, she's just enjoying it. But seeing all this, man, it did something to me, honestly. So that happened, and it just gave me time enough to sit back and think. And it took me about 2 weeks to think about my next topic for this podcast. It gave me time enough to think about where to go with this podcast, and it gave me time enough to get some new gear too. You see, I got a new mic, new computer. We're having some technical issues, but anyway. So yeah, I've been thinking. My wife and I, we've been plotting about a few things, and for one, we know that this podcast is geared towards leadership. Leadership, as I call this, for young, aspiring leaders. You know, I try my hardest to gather resources for young entrepreneurs, social leaders, whatever you would like to I guess, take the role of leadership in. You know, I find it my duty to find resources for you guys. So yeah, we're gearing this podcast towards leadership, and I've been thinking over the last 2 weeks about the true meaning of leadership, and this has been weighing heavily on my mind about what is leadership, especially in today's age. What is leadership to you? What is leadership to me? And how can we gain from it? How can we gain from leadership? But first, we want to start this discussion with a guest that I have coming. She's an attorney by trade, actually, but she's a personal coach and an executive coach. This attorney is my cousin. Her name is LaKeisha Randall. We're going to have her on today. We're going to talk more about leadership and what leadership means to her, and some, you know, of course, some of her clients and what she deals with on a daily basis, and what she see and pull away from leadership. I also just found out that she actually volunteered for John Lewis campaign. So I'm going to ask her some questions about that as well. I don't think she knows that. Sorry. Yeah, the late great John Lewis. Rest in peace, John Lewis, man. He was he's a legend. You know, legend never dies. Legends never dies. Their works speaks eternally. You know, we can learn a lot from what he's done in the past with him, MLK, Malcolm X, all that. You know, we can learn from that. And my guest, yeah, she actually had an opportunity to volunteer with him and for his campaign. I just read on her post, and I'm going to ask her about that and just say, you know, just pick her brain about leadership today and how it was yesterday and what it looks like today and what it will look like going forward, and how can we grasp these bits and pieces of information and use them for our own personal lives as well. So, yeah. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce you guys to her, all right? Welcome back. And as I mentioned before, I have a very, very, very special guest here today. An attorney by trade, owner of the Randall Law Firm, executive coach and personal coach, LaKeisha Randall. What's going on, LaKeisha? How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you from coming on. Not to mention, she's also my cousin. So, like, if you try to sue me or anything, you better watch your back, because we coming for you. As I mentioned before, we actually was talking about leadership and what leadership looks like and what it looked like in the yesteryears and what it looked like today. And I just want to briefly get into that. But before I do, I just want you to introduce yourself and just tell people what you do and what you're known for.
Awesome. Okay. So, like you said, my name is LaKeisha Randall, and I own the Randall Law Firm, which is a Buckhead-based law firm. Okay. I'm licensed in Georgia and Washington, D.C. Yeah. So, although my office here is in the Atlanta area, we actually serve all of Georgia and all of Washington, D.C. My specialty areas are personal injury, family law, and estate planning. So personal injury is like an umbrella, though. So that can be anything from car accidents down to botched surgeries, medical malpractice, wrongful death, even some assaults where someone's like shot or something and they're in a public space. Then I'm able to examine their options to sue the actual place where they were shot or injured or whatever else.
Oh, wow.
Family law, my strongest area, or my largest area right now, is divorce. However, I also handle child custody, prenup, postnup, the whole nine.
All right.
And estate planning, typically the largest area would be your drafting of wills and power of attorney and things like that.
Okay. Now, I know for years now, I've been telling you that I was going to come see you when it comes to family. What is that, estate planning?
Yes.
I see. Yeah, I still got to come to you and go ahead and get that started. I think it's very important for us to do that. You know, a lot of people don't. Well, from what I'm seeing, like in our community, a lot of people don't take advantage in that area of planning and things of that nature. What do you think about that?
I couldn't agree with you more. Actually, I'm known for being a trial lawyer, so I love trying cases. That's my passion, that's my heart. But I actually added estate planning to my practice fairly recently because of that access issue.
Okay.
There are so many within minority communities in general that just don't know that they need these things, or they have misunderstandings of when they actually need it. So as a rule of thumb, anyone over the age of 18 needs to have an estate plan. You can revise it, update it as you need to, but everyone should have some basic foundational things put together. And I actually have a section on my website where I indicate, some of the top myths of estate planning. And that's the one I really, really try to drive home, because so many people think, when I accomplish X, then I'll establish an estate plan, or that's for older people, or, whatever else. But absolutely everyone needs an estate plan, regardless of your age.
Man, that's what's up. I think out of all of the excuses you just gave, I think I've probably given you all of them. So
probably have.
So I really need to get on it, man. I seriously do. That's a great tip. I'm actually gonna promote that and put that out there when this podcast is all said and done, because we do need to promote that, and just leave, like, when we leave here, we can leave our families better off, I would say. So I'm definitely going to make sure people know that is something that you do. But I want to get into leadership. And I know that you deal with leaders, personal leaders, being an executive coach. And I just want to know, from your perspective, like, what is your definition of leadership?
So leadership, I think, really depends on the area of your life where you intend to lead, right?
Right.
But ultimately, I think it is the ability to inspire others, the ability to educate, mentor, have others, better for having known you, right?
Right.
So, that can be in your personal sphere, in your friendships. You always have that leader sometimes within the group. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, the goal is to scale from there and be able to contribute, to the world at large. So, sometimes leading is doing things diligently every time you have an opportunity to.
Wow.
It's not always the person just out front,
Right,
with
right.
the limelight. A true leader is one that gets things done because it has to be, or it moves the ball, or it moves the mission.
Right. You just said something, it gave me chills, actually. You said, it was a word that you said, I guess I'm gonna just try to repeat, like, so it's like starting from within a small sphere of influence and then just kind of grow outward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting from that is, like, leadership start with self first. And I think that's something that you do too, because you do personal coaching. So could you kind of correlate that with, like, leadership, like being a leader over oneself or something like that?
Absolutely. I think that the primary thing that many people fail to execute properly is self-discipline.
Ooh.
If you don't have self-discipline, the reality of it is you're not going to always be motivated, right?
Right.
So you have to have self-discipline honed. And that comes down to, if you say you're going to read 5 scriptures this week, do you actually read it? If you say you're going to walk 5 miles this week, how many have you done?
Right. And
if you're at Friday and you've only done 1, do you have the self-discipline to do 4 in one day and realize next week I'm going to stretch them out better,
right.
Right. But ultimately, if you don't have self-discipline within yourself, it's going to be difficult to hold others to a standard that you yourself cannot achieve.
Ooh, man. That's heavy. And that's something I'm currently working on, is self-discipline. Especially throughout this environment today. We have the pandemic going on, then we have social injustice. We have a lot going on today. And to have self-discipline over my mind and myself is something that I struggle with, but it's something that I have to continuously to practice every day. So I totally get that. So you have to start within before you can lead a group, is pretty much what you're saying, right?
100%. Because, ultimately, some people, call themselves leaders for whatever reason. But the reality of it is no one's really following them.
Right. Right.
It's like, if you don't have anyone that you're leading, are you truly a leader?
Right.
But I would never hold my staff to a standard that they don't see within me. Right.
True.
So it's nothing that I say, but they know the standard for excellence because I hold myself to that standard. Yeah. And I have that level of self-discipline.
Man, that makes sense. And you mentioned leaders today, right? Mm-hmm. Leaders today, so it's a lot of protesting going on. There's a lot of emerging leaders today. And one of the things I mentioned before we got on the call is that you actually did some volunteer work with Representative, should I say Congressman too, babe? the late great John Lewis. So you did so working with him and then the leaders today, is there a difference between the leaders yesterday and the leaders today?
I don't really think so. So my undergraduate study at Georgia State was sociology, and I focused in African American studies and women's studies. And in college, I volunteered for the first campaign that I remember volunteering for was for John Lewis.
Right.
And it was largely because I was so inspired by the level of dedication and level of servanthood that he embodied, you know. Growing up here in Atlanta, you know, you'll see him walking around. You'll see him just like casually doing anything, whether it's just, you know, helping someone take out the trash if he had to, or, you know, marching on the front lines and, you know, crazy heat in Atlanta weather.
Right.
But I really appreciated that level of access and humility, and I was inspired. And the best way I could think to help move the needle at that time was to volunteer for his campaigns. But answering your question, if you think about it, he was a really young leader, you know, the same age as a lot of the people who are helping move the needle now for our civil rights movement.
Right.
So, you know, I forget who says this, who to attribute this quote to, but there's a saying that you never see people over 30, you know, moving the ball on the front lines for any like radical change. Right. And I think that, you know, young people have that fire, and, you know, older people or people who are more established, whatever that really means, we have to, you know, support them in that. True. However we can.
Right. Okay. So like we have to just kind of like band together, just get in there with the young people and help them out, you know, give them, you know, the wisdom that we have and just support them. Be that, I guess, backbone, I will say, while they're out there making that happen.
Well, you know, I will say, and this is probably a difference of opinion, but I actually don't think we have to always impart how we would do things or how we think things should be done. Right. I mean, I think we all have a role to play within the movement, and, you know, new ideas are always necessary. I think that I'm always a resource to people. I have a host of mentees actually, but I don't always offer unsolicited advice because I don't presuppose that because I'm older I know more or I know better. But I do know that they can learn from me, but I can also learn from them, you know, and I try my best to. So even within my team, I have my youngest intern actually is in high school, you know. So I have people in high school, people in law school, because I know that every person contributes to the team.
So I'm guessing that's why you don't age, because you surround yourself with young people. I might need to get me some younger homies, like.
You know what? The funny thing is, I had a round table recently with two guys that were 18 and just finished high school. And I was like, you know what? I really want to increase my demographic with young men, like 18 to 25. Right. And I can't do that talking to 30-year-old women. I need to talk to people 18 to 25.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I need to do that myself. Get out there with the 18-year-old. And yeah, that makes sense. So there's not much difference between the leaders yesterday and today. What about the environment today? I know it may not be as well. We got the coronavirus going on, and you know, social injustice, and it's like we're constantly battling this every day. And then now we are bringing more awareness to mental health, which is a big thing today. Do you think that the leaders may look somewhat different from yesteryears than today because of the environment? Do you think that, I guess what I'm asking, do you think the environment today would create a different type of leader or leadership?
I don't know if I would say that per se, but I do know that we have a sense of urgency. I think that with the advent of social media and other technological advances, the leaders of today have the ability to get their message out in real time.
Makes sense.
And it can also get out to the world and not just your neighborhood or, your local media station. So that ability to get your message out in real time, absolutely. I mean, think about it. When things happened with George Floyd, I mean, you had protests that were international with thousands and millions of people. And I think that, that's power,
Right.
And I think that, generations past, you had to go through different channels to get the media there, or to make sure it's being printed in a newspaper. But now, you can have a shoestring budget and really get your message out. And that's definitely something that is beneficial to current leaders.
Right. Okay. And with these leaders, like Michael Jordan, right? Michael Jordan was a leader. Would you agree that he was a leader?
Sports isn't my thing, so I don't know.
Because I was going somewhere.
I'll follow you. Okay, I'll hear you out. I'll follow you.
Because Michael Jordan, he was a great leader because he had a great coach. That's where I was going.
Gotcha.
So every leader needs a coach, and I just want to talk a little bit about you and like your coaching, because I know you mentioned you help people with wellness as well. Like what does that consist of when it comes to wellness? Like what are some tips that you can give us on how we can manage all of this that is going on today?
Okay, so in addition to owning the Randall firm, I also own Atlanta Life Coaching and Consulting, and my moniker is the Atlanta Coach. And it started off from me teaching a lot nationally on attorney wellness, and in doing that, I would get a lot of comments from people saying, those things are applicable to others too.
Right.
So after that, I became certified as a life coach and executive coach, and I now own Atlanta Life Coaching and Consulting.
Okay.
Well, obviously, in the pandemic right now, wellness is critical. I tend to teach from holistic wellness, so that's spirit, mind, body, finances.
Okay.
And I see them in that order. So if any of those areas are really imbalanced, then it actually impacts the others. So some of the top wellness tips, especially in light of coronavirus, within our community, within everyone as well, but because we're more susceptible to illness right now, I think it's important for our community to really focus on our health and wellness. Is to, one, strengthen your immunity system.
Okay.
So right now I take a whole concoction of vitamins to increase my immunity, because I want my body to be able to withstand things. So some of the things to consider are vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, turmeric, your B12s, those kind of things, so that you can add ginger to your diet to make sure that you can help with inflammatory things to reduce any ailments.
Right.
In addition to that, make sure your cardio is strong. So, right now your respiratory system is being attacked. So I think it's important to do the best that you can to keep your cardio up, so that, if you unfortunately were to become ill, your body would already have some level of training to withstand the attack.
Right. The first thing I did when I got back from vacation is I went running. That's the first thing.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to be sure.
I'm telling you, I actually have one of my July goals that I'm still working on is to increase my cardio, because the first, I would say, month and a half or so of COVID, I was in the house a lot because I was so afraid. There were so many things going on that I didn't know about. I couldn't quite tell what was safe.
Right.
So now, rather than just walking, I'm like, nope, let's get these miles in. Let's go ahead and run, get this heart rate up.
Right.
In addition to that, I would say self-care is very, very, very important. We give so much to others.
Right.
And, I think, particularly with women, we're socialized to check on others first, whether it's family, partners, children. But, you can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yeah, that's true. Definitely true. Definitely true.
So, self-care time. I actually schedule self-care time. Sometimes that's just doing yoga. Other times it's reading a book. Sometimes that is just checking in with myself to see how I'm feeling, you know, because there's so many things going on that we have to make sure we're strong.
Yeah, that's true. You hear that, babe? Self-care. We gotta schedule it.
You have to schedule it because otherwise you won't do it.
My wife,
everything else on your schedule.
My wife, she does so much. And, you know, I just want to be sure that she knows. Well, you know, she worked for like a firm, like, is it mental health? Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that they're doing a lot of practice of that. I think I need to do that for myself because, you know, I'm on the go so much. Sometimes I just don't take a moment to breathe and just check and see where I am. So that I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. I actually, I'm not sure if you follow my professional page, but on Instagram is lrandall.law. So that's LRANDALL.law. But I mentioned that because I'll post like Wellness Wednesday or Self-Care Sunday or Fitness Friday. So those kind of reminders sometimes like visually will like trigger you to wonder, you know, did I do X today? And sometimes it's simple. So like, for example, last week for my staff meeting, we actually had, for Wellness Wednesday, we did 45 minutes of working out via Zoom together. Right. And then the last 15, we, you know, did an update what was going on in the office, what we needed to do. But I think, you know, back to the leadership portion, if I want my staff to be healthy and strong mentally, then, you know, I have to incorporate within my practice wellness components. That's
true.
So that's why we have staff meetings via Zoom sometime, or like I'll pay them for an hour of, you know, cardio, whatever else. But ultimately, I let them know that being well is important to me and I care about them.
Right. So taking care of you, that's kind of like the high on a high priority list for leadership. It's taking care of yourself and
very first.
Exactly. Okay. So cuz man, we're winding down, and I just wanted to see that, or wanted to know that if you have anything that you would like to say to the people who's listening, tips, or do you have anything like, what are LaKeisha's last words on this podcast?
Obviously, the last words are follow the Randall firm, follow the Atlanta coach, reach out, connect. But ultimately, make sure that you are living a life that you want, you know? One of the things that I remind my mentees is that life isn't a dress rehearsal, you know? Right. We don't have an opportunity to do this over again, you know, that we're aware of. We may believe in reincarnation. We don't know for sure. But until then, I think it's important to live life in full color, you know, feel the wind on your face, you know,
be
do the
present.
best you can.
Right.
Yes. Do the best you can, but ultimately give your all to yourself and to others.
Amen. I hear that. And again, can you just go ahead and shout out where people can find you? How can people touch you? And just if people got more questions from LaKeisha Randall, how can they reach you? I just want people to hear this.
Sure. So the Randall Firm, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. On Facebook, it's the Randall Firm, spelled normally. On Instagram, like I said earlier, is lrandall.law. Same thing for Twitter and LinkedIn. Our office number is 404-777-3833. And we are open 24 hours a day, especially with, you know, car accidents and handling family cases. As you can imagine, those things are, you know, happen around the clock, so we can't close after 5. So my team is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And for Atlanta Life Coaching and Consulting, is theatlantacoach.com. If you look up hashtag #theatlantacoach on Instagram or anything else, you can find me there as well.
Cool. Well, cuz LaKeisha Randall, I really appreciate you for joining me. Man, much success to you. I'm gonna definitely make sure I get this over to grandma because she's gonna love this.
Oh, she is gonna love this. So you mentioned we were cousins. You forgot to say we were like first cousins.
First cousin. This is my first cousin. I'll say, now I don't want to say eldest, but my first cousin.
Oh my word.
Yeah, but this is my first cousin. Grandma, she's gonna love this, and cuz I really appreciate you for being known. I love you. I hope you come back. When all this is over, maybe we can meet and do this in person.
I would love that. I truly appreciate you having me. Love you too, and I definitely wish you all the success in the world.
Thank you. I got chills. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and you enjoy your night, all right?
All right, have a good evening.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So you heard of here. We talked about leadership with my cousin LaKeisha Randall. You guys make sure you go and follow her. Leadership today. We know that there's a lot going on today. I know that we have the pandemics, social injustice. You probably see people dying here left and right. And you probably have access to this via social media. Like LaKeisha said earlier, you know, sometimes it's best to take time out for yourself. The first part of leadership is being a leader over yourself. Take time out for yourself. Know where you are. Be present with yourself, and be present and know what your goals are. You have to be intentional with that as well, and just have that discipline. Because once you're able to lead yourself, then you can lead your spouse. Then you can lead your kids. Then you can lead your neighbors, because it's genuine. Because you go through the rough spots. You go through these things via self-discipline. So lead yourself, take care of yourself. And so that's all for Raising the Bar with A.D. Robinson. You guys have a great evening, great morning, whenever you're listening to this. You guys take it easy.
We came far, but we ain't far. Playing for scars, we gon' raise the bar.